Singapore launches second multirole combat vessel RSS Valour 3 months ahead of schedule. The Republic of Singapore Navy launched its second Victory-class multirole combat vessel, RSS Valor 89, at ST Engineering's Benoi yard on July 23, 2026. The 8,000-ton vessel replaces outgoing 595-ton corvettes to serve as a command ship and mothership for autonomous aerial, surface, and underwater systems. Incorporating early lessons from lead ship RSS Victory accelerated RSS Valor's build timeline, reducing the period between steel cutting and launching to 455 days. The RSS Valor features an integrated full electric propulsion system producing 30 megawatts, enabling an operational range exceeding 7,000 nautical miles and an endurance of over 21 days with a crew complement under 100. Weapon systems and sensors integrated onto the 150-meter hull include the Thales Sea-Fire Active Electronically Scanned Array Radar, a 32-cell vertical launch system for Aster 30 Block 1NT and VL Mica NG missiles, and Leonardo 76mm Strales main gun. The Republic of Singapore Navy RSN launched the second Victory-class multirole combat vessel MRCV, the RSS Valor 89, at ST Engineering's Benoi yard, as part of a 6-ship construction program intended to replace the eponymous Victory-class missile corvettes commissioned between August 1990 and May 1991. The ceremony was officiated by Minister for National Security K. Shanmugam, while his spouse served as the ship sponsor, and Lieutenant Colonel Timothy Lowe is expected to become the vessel's first commanding officer. The RSS Valor entered the water 9 months after the lead ship RSS Victory 88, which was launched on October 21, 2025, and is scheduled for delivery in 2028, while the RSS Valor is due to follow in 2029. The acquisition preserves the 6 Victory-class corvette names and pennant numbers: Victory 88, Valor 89, Vigilance 90, Valiant 91, Vigor 92, and Vengeance 93, but replaces these 595-ton missile ships with 6 vessels displacing 8,000 tons. At 150 m long, 21.04 m wide, and 5.7 m in draft, the new MRCV is 87.9 m longer, 12.54 m wider, and more than 13 times heavier than the corvette it will replace. The increase can easily be explained, as the MRCV combines the functions of a frigate with the storage, launch, recovery, and command infrastructure required to operate unmanned aerial, surface, and underwater systems during deployments exceeding 7,000 nautical miles and 21 days. Singapore signed the contract for 6 MRCVs with ST Engineering Marine on March 27, 2023, assigning the Defense Science and Technology Agency DSTA responsibility for acquisition, systems engineering, and integration management, while DSO National Laboratories participates in the development and adaptation of onboard technologies. Steel cutting for the RSS Victory began on March 8, 2024. Its keel was laid on October 22, 2024, and the hull was launched on October 21, 2025, producing an interval of 592 days between first steel and launch. The RSS Valor reached the same point more rapidly. Steel was cut on April 24, 2025, the keel was laid on January 27, 2026, and the ship was launched on July 23, 2026, an interval of 455 days from steel cutting to launch and 177 days from keel laying to launch. ST Engineering Chief Executive Vincent Chung said the second vessel was launched 3 months faster than the first because production lessons from the Victory were incorporated into the Valor's construction. On April 29, 2026, steel was cut simultaneously for the RSS Vigilance and RSS Valiant, placing 4 ships in construction, fitting out or integration at the same time, and leaving only the RSS Vigor and RSS Vengeance at the ordered stage. Shipyard resources must now support hull assembly on later ships, while the Victory undergoes fitting out at Goole Yard, propulsion activation, combat system installation, harbor acceptance work, and sea trials. The RSS Valor also provided an opportunity to correct small construction and integration problems found aboard the lead vessel before the third and fourth hulls reach comparable stages. The outgoing Victory-class corvette displaces 595 tons, measures 62 m in length, 8.5 m in beam, and 2.6 m in draft, carries 49 personnel, and reaches 37 knots through 4 Maybach MTU 16 V538 TB93 diesel engines producing 12,600 kilowatts. In contrast, the MRCV displaces 8,000 tons, measures 150 m by 21.04 m, draws 5.7 m, and is intended to operate with fewer than 100 personnel, although an earlier design configuration listed 110. Displacement increases by 1,245, length by 142, beam by 148, and draft by 119, while crew requirements rise by no more than 104 if the complement remains below 100. In practical terms, each sailor aboard the existing corvette corresponds to 12.1 tons of displacement, compared with more than 80 tons per sailor aboard the MRCV, illustrating the degree to which machinery control, navigation, combat management, surveillance, and damage monitoring were automated. Range rises from 4,000 nautical miles at 18 knots to more than 7,000 nautical miles, an increase of at least 75, while the MRCV can also sustain 6,000 nautical miles at 15 knots and remain deployed for more than 21 days. Maximum speed falls to 22 to 25 knots, reducing sprint speed by 12 to 15 knots because the new class prioritizes fuel economy, electrical generation, payload volume, and persistent command functions rather than the high-speed surface attack profile for which the original corvettes were built. More interestingly, the mission spaces convert the additional hull volume into deployable capacity rather than simply increasing accommodation and fuel storage. The ship contains an internal bay for 8 dedicated mission modules and can transport as many as 20 containerized payloads. Onboard cranes, a cargo elevator, and internal handling equipment allow containers, stores, weapons, and unmanned equipment to be moved without relying entirely on shore cranes. 2 launch hand recovery systems are positioned on the port side and at the stern, permitting simultaneous or mission-specific use by rigid-hull inflatable boats, unmanned surface vessels, and other small craft. 2 ribs are allocated to interception, boarding, search, and maritime security missions, while an unmanned surface vessel USV can be deployed through a dedicated launch hand recovery installation. The Singaporean Navy previously identified the 16M Venus USV as a planned embark system, although the final operational mix for each ship has not been fixed. The 76mm gun provides a lower-cost means of engaging surface contacts, unmanned craft, and some aerial threats without using a missile, while the 30mm weapon covers the inner defensive sector against fast boats and low-altitude targets. The anti-ship missile has not been formally confirmed, although the Blue Spear, developed jointly by ST Engineering and Israel Aerospace Industries, has been linked to the requirement. The Blue Spear would replace the outgoing corvette's 8 Harpoon missiles, which provide a range of 130 kilometers. The underwater weapon remains equally important because the hull-mounted sonar can detect and classify contacts, but cannot by itself attack a submarine. Eurotorp's Mu-90 Impact and Leonardo's A-244 lightweight torpedo have both been considered, while the ship's hangar could also support a helicopter-carrying dipping sonar, sonobuoys, and lightweight torpedoes if Singapore assigns such an aircraft. Until the anti-ship missile, torpedo, helicopter, and unmanned underwater package are fixed, the ship's air defense and command capabilities are more clearly defined than its final offensive surface and anti-submarine load. The Victory-class MRCV also marks an industrial shift because Singapore is integrating a larger share of the vessel domestically while relying on foreign suppliers for specialized structures, sensors, propulsion, and weapons. ST Engineering remains responsible for hull construction and final integration. DSTA controls system architecture and acceptance, and Saab Kockums is supplying 6 composite superstructures under a contract signed on August 22, 2024, working with Denmark's Odense Maritime Technology on detailed design and structural engineering. The composite structure weighs roughly 50 less than an equivalent steel assembly, lowering weight above the waterline, reducing the center of gravity and preserving top weight margin for 4 radar panels, communications antennas, and later additions. The first composite superstructure and mast were handed over on June 27, 2026, after composite sheets produced in Sweden were shipped to Singapore and assembled by Penguin Shipyard International. The forward mast weighs roughly 60,000 kilograms and had to be transported in separate sections before local reassembly because its shipment as a single unit was impractical. ST Engineering therefore used a full-scale digital ship model to check equipment access, piping, cable routes, compartment layouts, and structural interfaces before fabrication, reducing the likelihood that completed blocks would need to be cut open for design corrections. The resulting supply chain still leaves Singapore dependent on foreign support for Sea-Fire radar components, MBDA missiles, GE Vernova propulsion equipment, Leonardo and Rafael guns, Safran electro-optics, and Saab composite technology, but final integration and configuration control remains centered in Singapore. The operational transition is therefore larger than the unchanged six-ship fleet size suggests. The Victory-class corvettes were armed with 8 Harpoon anti-ship missiles, 16 Barak air defense missiles, a 76mm gun, and, before their removal during modernization, 6 324mm torpedo tubes with A244S torpedoes and variable depth sonar. They carried 49 personnel, reached 37 knots, and could travel 4,000 nautical miles at 18 knots, giving Singapore a compact surface strike force optimized for rapid movement through the confined waters surrounding the Malacca and Singapore Straits. The MRCV shifts the emphasis to more than 7,000 nautical miles of range, a 15-ton helicopter facility, 20 containerized payloads, 8 internal mission modules, a 32-cell air defense battery, 30 megawatts of electrical generation, and control of aerial, surface, and underwater unmanned vehicles. One MRCV can therefore cover a wider area and coordinate more sensors than one Victory-class corvette, but the availability of the new class will depend on whether the Republic of Singapore Navy can sustain crews of up to 600 personnel across 6 ships, provide additional specialists for mission modules and unmanned systems, maintain sufficient VL, Mica, and G, and Aster 30 Block 1 and T stocks, and keep several vessels ready while others undergo maintenance.